We're having a very cold January. In fact, the coldest since 1988. It even beats out 1994, with much of the lower 48 sitting at about 5 to 7 degrees below average for the month of January. And that left some pretty significant snows for the month as well. This is just your snowfall totals for the month of January so far. And everywhere that you see in pink, those are double-digit totals, folks. So we've had some fairly decent, if not almost some significant snows across the lower 48. Now, it just makes sense after we've had such a colder period that naturally we're going to rebound a little bit. So for the next 5 days, I am expecting the winds to start turning around from the south. That's when we're seeing a pretty good surge in temperatures with that south and southwest winds. That's going to really elevate those temperatures, not only across the deep south and much of the southeast, but much of the middle part of the country is going to be experiencing that colder air mass. It's just really these areas across the north, the cross-polar flow that's still going to be inundated around portions of the mid-Atlantic, getting in and into the northeast as well as into New England. You're still going to get that colder shot of air, especially for Wednesday and Thursday coming up. And the main piece of energy is going to be out here across the areas of California. That is an area of low pressure that we're going to be tracking across the desert southwest. That's going to link up with our system across the middle part of the country and produce a significant rainstorm and even some severe storms for Texas, especially on Wednesday heading into Thursday for your week ahead. So let's take a look at the setup going forward and show you what we're talking about. Here's the cross-polar flow. I would say anywhere in areas that are green, that is going to be your colder anomalies, much colder air mass, and it's going to have some snow showers. Sometimes a snow squall will likely unfold. So you should see some, sporadic snow showers, if not some lake effect snows across this regions over the coming days, especially going into Wednesday and Thursday. But it's this little feature down here into California where they actually had some heavier rains across southern portions of California, and even sometimes they actually even had some flood warnings that produced some mudslides out there with the ravaged sage areas of all the wildfires that are going on. And that is going to be taking its sweet time, because essentially what happens is you got an area of low pressure that's going to be able to form another area, which is called a cutoff low. And that's going to be kind of sitting out there waiting in the wings, waiting for it to move. And it's going to take its sweet time to move across a good part of the desert southwest, but it also should bring some beneficial rain showers for them. I'm talking about you guys in Nevada, into Arizona, back into New Mexico. That'll get in the day on Wednesday. But Wednesday is going to be your crucial day, because that's going to be forming another surface low down here in Mexico. That's going to provide the lift mechanism out ahead of it that would likely produce some strong to severe thunderstorms, especially down there in central Texas. I'm talking to like the Abilene, San Angelo region. And then you got some snow starting to form there into New Mexico, and just a heavier rain event that will likely unfold across a good swath of Texas and Oklahoma, as well as into Arkansas, especially into Wednesday night. We could be looking at some significant heavy rain, if not flooding concerns, lifting into Arkansas, back into Louisiana. So Wednesday and Thursday are going to be very active, especially overnight on Wednesday. So by the time we hit on Thursday morning, and we'll hit the surface map, but for right now, we're going to have a line of thunderstorms likely turning some severe, heading down into the Austin region, down there further south into San Antonio could get some severe storms. We're talking some larger hail and definitely some damaging winds, but it's going to be a significant rain producer with this system, and it's moving across. And not only will it dump some snows, and I know the snows have come down a little bit from what they were a couple of days ago, so the system's not as cold as what it was, but hasn't lost any of the significant rain aspect to the system, and should be, by the time we especially head into the Thursday, we've got heavy rains spreading into Arkansas, Missouri, back into Tennessee, getting into Kentucky, those areas. At the same time, you'll still have that cross-polar flow for what happens across the areas into the Northeast. But by the time we get to the end of January, heading into that February 1st timeframe, look at the jet stream, right? Kind of flattens out. So the south winds kind of winds out. So you'll have that battle zone. So you got a sharp demarcation line of warmer air across the south, and you've got some colder anomalies. And where we're going to look at the cold coming back is the far corners of the Pacific Northwest, as that colder air comes back, starting to come back down from Alaska down through into British Columbia, heading into that first couple of days of February. So looking at the surface map, you can kind of get a better feel of what we're talking about here. There is your little clipper system that's going to impact the Northeast over the coming days, especially into Wednesday and Thursday. There's the low pressure center that left the beneficial rains across the Southern California. Notice, at least for the next 5 days, it misses you guys in the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon, parts of Idaho. You're not going to get much precipitation, at least between now and in Saturday. That changes as we flip the month big time. But for right now, all the action's further south, heading into Arizona, and that's going to move across, and it's going to take its sweet time in building out there into the deserts. But by the time we head into Wednesday, that's where we're going to get enough lift out ahead of it, and we're going to have that surface low start to develop down there into Mexico. That's when we can start to see the heavier rain start to unfold, especially there into Wednesday night. We could be having training thunderstorms with flooding concerns draped across, say, Dallas-Fort Worth, back into Austin, into Northeast Texas, getting into the Panhandle, back into Oklahoma. We'll have the snow starting to fly across the Four Corners regions, through New Mexico, back into Colorado, and that just continues, and will continue with some severe storms. So there will be a little bit severe aspect of it too. This it's not going to be a significant event or anything like that, but some of these could have some larger hail. It does have colder air aloft, so you never can roll out, especially with that lift mechanism coming in from the west. Some of those could have some larger hailstones to it, probably up to quarter size at times, but some damaging winds, especially with that kind of nasty squall line and a lot of lightning associated with it. This looks to be a nocturnal event into Wednesday night, into the wee hours of the morning. We're talking 2-3 o'clock wake up call down there in Texas, folks. That's what's happening, and that's only going to transfer into more of a heavy rain event and some more significant storms further south. So we could be looking at, with a little bit less rain, further south you go, so Austin and San Antonio, but that bumps up the isolation and bumps up the likely intensity of some of these storms. Could form into more, areas of some larger hail and some of that damaging winds off to the southeast. But to the northeast, that's where you're going to get more of the significant rains unfolding, especially heading into Thursday. I think that's when it transfers into Arkansas, back into Missouri by then, heading into Louisiana. You'll have a kind of a squall line forming across the southeast Texas. So for areas that got 4 to 6 inches of snow just the other day, now we're talking possibly maybe some 4-inch rain amounts to compounding on top of that, all the snow that's melted down there. But that's going to form kind of a shrimp-like look, right? So it's going to lose a lot of the colder aspect of it to it, but it's going to keep the rain showers to it, and some significant rains moving across Louisiana, Mississippi, getting into Tennessee by then, back into Kentucky, swinging further north into Illinois, back into Indiana, as well as into West Virginia. That'll be on the day on Friday, and that'll just continue to move across the southeast, eventually heading into Georgia by the time we get into Friday afternoon. And by the time we head into your overnight on Friday night, that's going to be elongated into the Carolinas. You're going to get some of that heavier rains moving in back into areas of the coastal areas of New Jersey, back into Delaware, getting into Long Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and then you'll have some transfer to snow into some of the higher elevations. But look what happens across the Pacific Northwest. Yes, your deluge of daily rain showers is going to come back. So you've had a little bit of a break right? You've had some break. Now it's going to come back with a vengeance. Yeah, I mean, if you live up there, you know what I'm talking about. It's going to be daily events of just all some rain every single day up there into Washington and Oregon. And of course, snowing into the higher elevations. And we'll start to look for the cold to start to come back, you know, across that region once we flip the calendar for February. But for now, between the next 5 days, for the next 120 hours, between now and Saturday morning, here's where the precipitation is likely going to fall. So most of this, at least in the higher elevations, will be in the form of snow higher up, some much needed rain showers further south, maybe into Phoenix, maybe even to Tucson, getting into New Mexico, but heavier rains, these areas across the red, we're talking 2, 3, obviously 4 inches of rain, could be even some isolated spots into northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas, 4 to 6 inch swath. But anywhere you see in red could see some 2 to 3 inch rains into northern Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, those areas. Lighter amounts, 1 to 2 inches further north, getting into Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, and then even lighter amounts as you swing up the East Coast into the Northeast. And some of this will be in the form of snow. And of course, much of Florida kind of misses out on this deal. And that's when we'll start to see the heavier rains move back across the Pacific Northwest as we flip the calendar into the month of February. So that's where the cold's coming back. So I know we're going to do a massive, rebound, right? So we've been cold. The air is going to be lifting from the south to the north. So by the time we head into that Saturday this weekend coming up, much of the lower 48 is going to be above average, but we're going to be starting to look into the Pacific Northwest where you got those deep dark purples starting to show back up. That is your 20 and 30 below average temperature anomalies building up there across the Pacific Northwest. So after Groundhog Day, that's going to start entering the lower 48 again, starting from the west, and will create a more significant battle zone starting to take shape. So you still have the warm air continuing to pull in that moisture from the south, causing the air to lift, and then we'll have that colder air pressing south. And that's the battle zone that it will be creating and pressing further south, as we head towards that 4th and 5th. And so I think as we head towards that 5th time frame, now we're talking areas across the south, much of the southeast, much of the Ohio Valley will start feeling the effects of that colder air mass coming back into play as we head into next week. And that will only set up some heavier snows across at least the northern corridor to start the month with the colder air coming back into play. So we'll see these sporadic snow showers dropping across with that more zonal flow. You can tell it's more of a zonal flow because that little orange marker, that's your warmer air. Down here in the blue, that's your freezing line. So anything north of that, that is your likely areas that you're probably going to be seeing some snows moving across. And as we head deeper into the first couple of days of February, especially around the 5th and 6th, we're likely going to be seeing more significant snows starting to return again, especially across the north, as the cold air will continue to press a little bit further south, and naturally it will pull that snow line further south as well. So now we're talking areas that have opportunities to bring snow back in the picture across, Kansas, about, crossing Nebraska by then, and to Iowa, as we head into that 7th time frame. And of course, and then it just continues to build further south as the cold air continues to build further south. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update. Wire protect you before and after the storm.